There are many amazing scenes in Doctor Who. In fact, my favourite changes constantly. They can range from emotional, like many companion exits, comical, such as the violent butler scene in City of Death, epic, like the All 13 scene, and many other wonderful adjectives. Currently, though, one scene is above all of them, in my opinion. I'll admit there's going to be quite a bit of bias, considering it heavily relates to my favourite Doctor, being the first one I watched since really getting into Doctor Who. Despite that, I still think it's an incredibly underrated scene that gets overlooked due to the other impactful scenes surrounding it. It is the perfect send-off to this particular incarnation of the Doctor, and the connection between such a historical event and the character arc of this incarnation was a stroke of genius. In my opinion, I believe that the best scene in Doctor Who is the Christmas Armistice in Trice Upon a Time. Trice Upon a Time is by no means a perfect episode, especially considering the First Doctor's character having so many differences to the actual First Doctor in the early 60s. The story does nail just about everything aside from that though, and is a perfect conclusion to my personal favourite Doctor, number 12. Capaldi's Doctor has a brilliant character arc, spanning the 3 series where he was the titular character, starting out as a grumpy old man who isn't really sure who he is, and then thinking he's got it all figured out in Series 9, before actually settling down and realising what exactly he is like, thanks in part to forgetting about the toxic relationship he had built up with Clara. It's tragic that he has to regenerate at the end of Series 10, just as the 12th Doctor had discovered who he truly is, which is why he holds it back for so long. While the character of the First Doctor isn't great in this episode, the core idea to have him in the episode was fantastic, letting the Doctor see how far he has come and demonstrate the beliefs of the character, as well as motivating him to regenerate. This scene is so thematically rich with motifs throughout Capaldi's run. The whole premise is very similar to the speech back in the Zygon inversion.
Sit down and talk!
With it being paralleled by the line of, everyone just put down their weapons and started to sing. We see everyone being just kind, like the Doctor again mentioned in the speech in the previous episode. We see how all of these ideas that the 12th Doctor has preached culminate in something so beautiful, allowing the audience to understand exactly how these ideas can work. Again, finding a significant event to tie this into was a stroke of genius, and it's a Christmas element that doesn't feel forced at all, which isn't always the case for Christmas specials. We also see the First Doctor reconcile with the 12th Doctor after he was worried from hearing testimony refer to his future self as the Doctor of War.
Doctor, who you are, I cannot begin to imagine.
Then let us show you, Doctor. See who you will become, a Doctor of War.
Our first thought is of course the Time War, the War Doctor, the terrible acts that he committed that made him forego his name. This episode presents a different view though, in that in a similar way to how he avoided destroying Gallifrey, the Doctor of War actually refers to a healer during a time of war, someone who helps the injured, someone who helps avert death, someone who is kind.
So, that's what it means to be a Doctor of War.
An interesting thing to note about the scene is actually how it bookends Moffat's run as the showrunner, with parallels between this and the first story he wrote for the show, The Empty Child / The Doctor's Dancers. Both times, the Doctor has been through a troubling time in their regeneration. With the 9th, it was all about trauma of the Time War, while the 12th Doctor has questioned his identity and has been shown so much hardship, especially with his previous story. Remember, from his point of view, Bill is still a Cyberman. But both of them are saved in a way, by a reminder that the universe isn't always cruel, and there's some days of true kindness. With the 9th, it's that everybody lives, while for the 12th, it's a human miracle. Another thing relating to Moffat's time as showrunner is how this scene perfectly encapsulates his view of the show. When he started running Doctor Who, the series immediately had a new atmosphere that's especially present in Series 5, that of a fairy tale. This is exemplified by this scene, one of his last. Everyone stops fighting and starts to sing because it's Christmas. It would seem absolutely ridiculous, but once again, the genius of tying this into a real historical event makes it so powerful. The world can be like a fairy tale sometimes. It's often a tragic place, especially during times of war, but when people come together, it very well can be a fairy tale. And when the Doctor's involved, it often is.
The universe generally fails to be a fairy tale. But that's where we come in.
There's so much going on in this simple scene, and that's why right now it's my favourite. especially of the modern era. I have a scene that I adore from the classic era too, and I think that's possibly the best scene for introducing someone to the show. But maybe that's for another video.